morning shift.
Anything could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All systems go.
You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by.
On the morning shift.
Anything could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
All right, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. Glad to be here with you this morning. As we work through, as usual, all of our technical difficulties that we experience, as I do my best to be the tech guy, the producer, the on-air personality, just doing pretty much everything from two different studios, one in Sudbury, one in Espanola. So we've found a way to get it done. Just sometimes there's a few glitches, and this morning that's what you had. So it is what it is. And we're here, and it's Easter Monday. So welcome everyone for this special edition of the Easter Monday Sudbury News Talk right here on CKLU 96.7 FM. CKLU also on streaming on cklu.ca. Glad to be there. And so you can catch us radio, streaming online at cklu.ca. You can also download the Radio Player Canada app right from that website and take us with you and listen to us anytime, anywhere on your favorite device. And we're also streaming on facebook.com/Sudbury News, youtube.com/Sudbury News. Thanks to the YouTube and Facebook moderators for the job that they do. It's not an easy thing these days with all the stuff going on and trying to make sure that everyone is respectful online. It's not easy to do, and then listen to someone like myself for an hour. And I know we have AI algorithms as well that are doing different things to help your job, but it's not an easy one. So thank you. Grateful for your platforms. Grateful for Facebook and YouTube, along with other platforms that we are on as well. We are also on Twitter at Sudbury News, Instagram at Sudbury.news. You can catch our website at Sudbury.news and catch all things Sudbury News there, because it's an aggregator. It takes all the best of the local news and puts it in one place, so you don't have to go to all the different various news outlets to get your news. You can just go to us and you see all the news shared from all the local news sites. And that's not there to take away anything from them. If anything, it's there to promote local news, because when you click on the story, it goes right to their site. It's like basically they don't even have to pay us for advertising for them. So it's a win-win for everybody. It's a win for you. It's a win for them. It's a win for us, because it gives us the material that we're going to be speaking on each and every day, whether it's here in Sudbury. We also talk about other issues that are more regional, more national, and international as well. And a lot of our issues these days that are national, let's say, or even local, have also implementations to other parts of the world. They're, to varying degrees, the same things that other people are going through in other parts of the world as well. And we're all trying to make sense of this very crazy, more and more crazy, and more confusing world that we do, in fact, live in. And so it's a chance for us each and every morning to get together and unpack these stories and have the discussion. And with that, good morning, David. Stay safe as usual. Thank you very much. Should be a nice day today. We're going to get to the weather very shortly, talk about that. Judy, good morning. Thanks for being with us. Also, Monique, good morning, everyone. And Belinda, good morning, everyone, as well. Thank you so much, guys, for being on. And even if you don't comment, thank you for being here. And just, some people aren't the commenting type, and they just kind of want to take it in and observe. And we're thankful for you as well. And for you all over the world that have been joining us lately as the show has been getting more and more out there. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and follow and all that stuff, because that's how we can get the word out there. As much as the algorithms and whatever will allow us to do that. We are at about 5,300 followers at the moment, but for my calculations with everything, the way everything should be looking, we should be at about 20,000 by now. We're not sure exactly why, that is the case, but the internet's not exactly like it used to be. If we would have got started maybe back in 2015 or something and done what we're doing now, we'd have probably 40,000 followers, because back then there were no algorithms to kind of prevent certain pages from doing things and whatever. And we kind of got caught in that because we're not going to not talk about things. And like I said at the beginning, we're grateful for the moderators. They moderate us. And if we say a word that's kind of out there and, it's one of those words that have created a lot of conflicts and whatever, the algorithms will prevent the show from getting out there and from people liking it or following the page. So it is what it is. So with that, we're happy that whoever has been able to find us have found us. And the more we like, subscribe, share, follow, we're just not going to stop doing what we're doing until we're told to stop, which could very well happen, as we've talked about on this show many, many times. And, but we're going to have a great Sudbury morning here. And if you are from somewhere other than Sudbury, welcome. And I hope you're having a great morning too. And I hope the weather's nice and you're having a great day getting through this very confusing sometimes world that we're in. But let's all have a great time together on the show. We'll discuss all the things going on in Sudbury and abroad, starting off with a little bit of weather, seeing what it's like. And we'll be back right after this. All right, and there's no weather warnings or anything like that I'm able to see so far this morning. Hopefully we're through a lot of that already, and we can look forward to some more, to some nice weather. I think we're going to go right from spring right into summer here in Sudbury. So with that, it's currently 0 degrees, feels like -3. It's mostly cloudy. And today we can expect a mix of sun and cloud, 30% chance of showers this morning and early this afternoon. Wind becoming southwest, 20 kilometers, gusting to 40 near noon. High of 12 today. And tonight, a few clouds, +5 is the low. Tuesday, mix of sun and cloud. Wind becoming southwest, 20 kilometers, gusting to 40 in the morning, then becoming northwest instead of southwest late in the afternoon. High of 12 again. Index of the UV index will be 6. We're going to start talking about UV index again, I guess, as it starts to get warmer and there's more sun. So again, Tuesday, mix of sun and cloud, high of 12. Wednesday, sunny, high of 19. Thursday, sunny, high of 19. And can you believe that? Friday, 14, mix of sun and cloud, high of 18. So there's your 3 very warm, nice days. Tomorrow shouldn't be a bad day as well, but let's see if that'll stay like that. If it stays, then we're in for a treat in terms of weather. And Friday, like we said, 18, mix of sun and cloud. Saturday, cloudy. And then Sunday, chance of showers, 30%. So out of the 7-day forecast, it's just 6 days, we have 1 day where there's a chance of showers. It's only 30%, and it's next Sunday. look at your satellite, as it's always, it's always hard to tell. This satellite, I'm going to get a new satellite image one day because it's just the pictures are taken almost 24 hours ago or whatever, and it's back and forth, stuff like that. So that's your weather. It's brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca. And we'll be back with a little bit of sports update for you, and then news headlines and all y'all's comments, and trying to unpack some of the events that happened just recently over this Easter weekend. We'll be back right after this. All right, and your Sudbury Sports brought to you by Randy Pascal's sports website, sudburysports.com. He is that Sudbury sports guy. He's been doing sports forever, and like nobody else's business, this Randy Pascal is that Sudbury sports guy for sure. Sudbury 5 were in action over the weekend, and they came out with a win against the Windsor Express, and it was a close game. And we wouldn't have won it if it wasn't for a last-minute three-pointer that gave us the win. And so now we're off to Windsor again. So it's a back and forth. When is that game? Yeah, I had all the dates, guys. I honestly promise you, I had all the dates all ready to go. And yes, and I do too. Let's see here. We had that. Yeah, I had it up. I promise you I did. Maybe I closed it. Yeah, I probably just closed it. But again, so I can find it pretty easily because we got a strong internet connection here now. And they're going to be back in action against the Windsor Express Thursday. And then they're going to be coming back here for an interleague matchup. A game against a team from Quebec that plays in the basketball league based in the United States. And that'll be on the 15th. So you can get tickets for that. That'll be an interesting game, right? It's a team we're not usually playing from a different league altogether. And so pretty exciting. So you get your tickets for that. Also, the Sudbury Cubs were in action. And they lost the first two games of the playoffs against the Sioux Thunderbirds. Both games 5-2 they lost. They're back in action. What is it, tonight and tomorrow? I do have that here as well. Had it. So, yeah, just this morning, I had everything opened in different places, and currently we're not, it's not there. But it is what it is. They're back in action, I believe, tonight and tomorrow night. If for some reason, we'll have a couple deep dive videos today, and as soon as we get those going, I'll double check on that. But anyways, the Sudbury Cubs, interestingly enough, I don't think it was anticipated they were going to lose against the Sioux Thunderbirds. But they've lost both of their first games on home ice, 5-2, 5-2. So hopefully they can rebound in the Sioux and take both games up there. And that's your Sudbury Sports, brought to you by SudburySports.com. Randy Pascal, Sudbury, he is that Sudbury Sports guy. And we'll be back with news headlines, much, much more, your comments right after this. I honestly can't believe how discombobulated that sports segment was. I honestly just can't believe that. It is what it is, though. I remember when I was playing in a band and, someone would make a mistake on stage live while you're playing. And everyone, when you're young in a young band, everyone would just look at that person with a look, and then people were like, "Oh, something went wrong, and why are you looking at him?" It's just kind of the same thing when you're doing something like this, and I'm doing that very thing right now by talking about it. But at the same time, I just have to apologize. That's not normal. Usually, we got all the information ready to go, and yeah, just today, for whatever reason, things were all over the place. But going through some of the news headlines, and this is not very fun with that. Good morning, Vin, as well. Thanks for joining us, Vin. Hope you're having a great Easter Monday. Hope you had a great Easter, by the way. All of you had a great Easter weekend. For some of you, it's still a long weekend. And for some of us, it's not. We didn't have a show on Friday because we just figured, well, it was a Nick telling me to take a day off. And so I just followed what she said and took the day off on Friday. So I hope all of you had a great Friday and a great Easter weekend and were able to enjoy time with friends or family, or just had a good time in general, able to time of reflection on what Easter means to you. And yeah, so with that, let's dive right into what we got to talk about today. Calls for action after a week of transport accidents in the north. The group is calling for better training for commercial drivers, the staffing of inspection stations 24/7 so that safety regulations can be enforced, and the training of police officers to read electronic logs so that drivers are not driving beyond their permitted number of hours, is what Sudbury.com is reporting. Now, there's been an increase in accidents, as you can see with that picture too, pretty brutal accident there, on our northern roads. So let's maybe do a dive into the reasons for these large truck accidents, these transport truck accidents. Is there a reason for the increase, do you believe? I have an opinion myself, but we'll come back to that later. Sudbury authors work to become a TV series. That's always exciting. A Sudbury area author, Kenny Wilson's popular children's book series, Girl Rabbit, is set to become a television series. Picture of the book there. Rabbit Girl. Sounds pretty interesting. I wonder if it's like a superhero or something. This coming off the heels of, issues with the NHL and some players choosing to not participate in Pride nights by wearing a Pride jersey. And so that was controversial in some circles. And so PK Subban spoke out about it, a statement regarding NHL Pride nights. So we can get into that as well. What he said concerning that and what others have said concerning that on our Facebook page. A little bit of the five still. Also, this is a really good podcast that Sudbury.com has. It's called The Village, and it's not really local, but in this case, it is local. They talk about most things around. It's like a provincial broadcast. In this particular segment, though, in this podcast, they're talking about Renee Sweeney and the Robert Stephen Wright trial. So if you want to get what the mainstream media sums it up as, you can watch that. It's about 18 minutes long. I was going to play little segments of it, but I couldn't really figure out which ones to put on today. So, and the reporter, Jenny Lamoth, in there, just some of the mannerisms and things. It was hard to watch or whatever. She seemed very happy to be reporting, and it was odd to me on some of the gruesome details and whatever. It was just, I can't even explain it. So anyways, go there and watch it if you want to see the the mainstream media's take on it. We received some intel, I guess you can say, the other day. Nick was messaged some of the other evidences and things that go against the idea of him being guilty, and some of the ways that the crime was investigated that left a lot of people wondering and asking a lot of questions whether he was in fact guilty. And so after reading that, I'm like, now I'm neutral. I really have no idea. And I was not in the courtroom, and I did not see the trial. And so, again, after watching about half of that podcast, you can really tell this was like a mainstream narrative of the trial, not really asking a lot of questions at this point, just saying, what the court's decisions were of how you would want that to be reported. Anyways, it just seemed like a mainstream slant on it, but you could watch it if you so desire. Alleged Sudbury killer heading directly to trial for the 2021 murder. Edgar Kyle Smith is accused of stabbing and running over a man in a series of violent, let's just get this, it's from the Sudbury Star, in a series of violent crimes in which he stands charged. So he ran over another man in 2021 and will go directly to Superior Court trial on a murder charge. Let's see here. So you got, he was a subject of a successful direct indictment application by the Sudbury Crown Attorney's Office. As a result, Smith is no longer headed to a preliminary hearing this November. Preliminary hearing determines if there is enough evidence to go to trial. So they've already determined there's enough evidence, and they're going to go to trial on that straight away. The incident happened September 7th, 2021, and his lawyer, Mary Kremer, told Justice Alex Kirk via Zoom from Toronto this week that we would be looking at setting a date for a judicial pretrial. The matter is some lengthy history before the Sudbury courts at this point. So it's already been going on for a while. First time we've talked about that on this show, though. We've never talked about that particular trial, so we'll keep our eyes and ears open on that. Unfortunately, somebody has passed away as a result of a snowmobile accident north of Sudbury. So that happened on Friday. One person dead following snowmobile accident. The OPP did not release the name of the victim at that point. I don't know if they have since. But he was a 53-year-old person from Plattsville, Ontario, who was pronounced deceased on the scene. The OPP did not release the name of the victim. Plattsville is south of Kitchener. In a release, the OPP said officers were called in just about 2 p.m. April 7th with Sudbury Paramedic Services about a single vehicle collision on Ontario Federation of Snowmobile Clubs Trail, and they give the ID in Tyrone Township, north of Greater Sudbury. The trail snakes through parts of Greater Sudbury and then north of Cartier and Capreol. The police said the investigation is continuing with the assistance of the OPP collision reconstructionist and the OPP technical collision investigator. Yeah, unfortunately, we still have enough snow. I know Larry Barrio, who's a country music artist from Sudbury, shared on his Facebook page over the weekend. Yesterday. He showed a picture of a lake and surrounding area this time last year, and there was no snow whatsoever, and there was a boat on the lake, and or a sea-doo or some kind of marine device, flotation device. Then he showed a picture of this year, like yesterday, and totally snow-covered ice, and there was a snowmobile on the lake. just showing the difference between this time last year and this time this year. Okay, so Belinda's saying there's a massive boycott of blue light beer from the LGBTQ community, upset after Dylan Mulvaney, who was featured as the transgender spokesperson, received backlash. I guess it wasn't a problem when Uncle Ben and Aunt Jemima were removed from their products or these products. Interesting. Yes, and that's going to be our deep dive for today. So thanks for noting that. A little bit of stuff that's going on surrounding that particular subject. So thanks for sharing that, Belinda, for sure. And let's see here. So Vin says corporate media is a more accurate depiction of today's media. For sure. I think you were alluding to the Village Media's podcast interviewing the reporter here from Sudbury. Yeah, just take a look at it. See what you think on the Renee Sweeney murder case trial for Robert Stephen Wright. It just gave that impression that there was less reporting and just more of embellishing on what was determined. It's almost like you have the outcome and you're just, I don't know, you're supporting it with reporting on what's already there instead of actually digging in and asking more questions. I don't know. It's just the way that I kind of look at something. I question everything and it's not true until it's true. Like I said, I'm kind of mixed emotions from the evidence that I've seen, and hopefully we'll be able to have a show that's dedicated on the things that others are saying on how the investigation was handled. And there are questions there. At least I have a lot of questions. It's not totally resolved or solved in my mind. This is something that everyone should be concerned about in Canada. And because we have this particular office in Sudbury, it's a Sudbury news story as well. CRA workers vote to strike. This reported by CTV. The union representing 35,000 Canada Revenue Agency service workers voted overwhelmingly to strike. And that is coming up very shortly. And so people are urging you to get your taxes in as early as possible to have them processed before they go on strike, because things could be backed up and backlogged. And if you're expecting a return of some kind, or whatever, if you're owing, it's great, because then if it's delayed, they'll give you more time to pay. But if you're going to expect some money back, you better get your taxes in early enough. But we submitted ours to our accountant, and for some reason, they haven't been started yet. And we're kind of hoping we would get ours in early, but we don't do ours ourselves. We have an accountant do it, because usually a good accountant, will pay for themselves for the cost of what it costs to get an accountant to do your taxes, because they'll find the latest tax regulations and things that they've just come out with, and they'll find ways to save you money or make you money, and they basically pay for themselves that way. And then they give you advice usually on what to do the following year in order to have the best situation in terms of your taxes. If you find a good accountant, we believe we have a very good accountant. Just wondering why things haven't been started yet. We'll have to get in touch with them. We had a dog show in Coniston. Greater Sudbury community of Coniston goes to the dogs is the headline on Northern Ontario CTV. Dog show underway at Arena. Greater Sudbury. Let's see here. That went ahead this weekend thanks to the Nickel District Kennel Club. a championship dog show through the club is underway at the Tobe Lake Memorial Arena. I don't know, dog shows, they're neat, I guess, to some extent, but not too many people in the picture in the crowd there. There's just 2 people sitting in the stands. I guess it's not a huge event to bring outsiders to come and see it, but I know quite a few people that have dogs, and they do put them in shows and whatever. It's a huge niche kind of community that are involved with the dog shows with their dogs and stuff like that. So again, Northern Ontario CTV CRA employees issue strike mandate ahead of contract talks. So there's going to be more than 3,000 workers that are affected by this strike coming up. Here's an interesting sports-related story. I guess we could have had this in our sports segment, that the Ontario Hockey League announced that it's going to be an investigation into parents bribing teams. So I don't know if you knew this or not, but you could, if you had money, bribe an OHL team to get your son to play on the team. I didn't know this was going on or it was possible, but I guess all things are possible. There's quite a few comments here. I just wanted to see them for some reason. Let's see the comments, if it will let me see them. There we go. Guy Lane says, LOL, parents receive their hockey tactics from our government because they do it too. And Dylan says, literally happens in every league, from AAA to Junior A to the OHL. Plus, let's be honest, who would take a couple extra $1,000 just to put a kid on the 4th line? Wow, that's crazy. So sad to hear. This isn't new. This should also not be surprising. Again, it was to me. I just didn't think it happened at that level. And Lori says it's shocking. So the OHL is being investigated for possibly taking bribes in the to have their children play on the team. Again, I just never thought that was possible at all. How much money would a parent have to pay to get their child to play on a team like that? You'd think it'd be quite a lot of money. Now, we remember the former owners of the Sudbury Wolves had their son playing on the team. And I remember that being very, people knew that it was just nepotism because of the owner. It was the owner's son. So there wouldn't have had to have been a bribe there. It was just, the owner said, let my son play on the team. And I've been to a couple games where he was playing, and there's no disrespect to the player whatsoever. But he just wasn't to that level of hockey. It was noticeable when he was on the ice. And it's kind of sad, And what would that do for your child anyways if you bribed the team to have them play? Does that mean that maybe they're going to up their game at some point and they're going to get better and they're going to have a chance to play in the NHL because of that? Very unlikely. It's usually just everyone on the team knows it. It's probably going to hurt them more than help them because the players who really worked hard to get there are going to know that and notice it. And if anything, it's going to ostracize that person in the dressing room and in social aspects of the team. And it's not going to be good for anybody. And really, when was cheating or bribing good for anyone ever anyways? It's just not the right way to go. And so keep our ears open for that story and just see if there's any other kind of information that comes out on it. But it was surprising to me to see that. Sad as well. I remember an incident when I was playing hockey when I was younger, and we got to a tournament in Thessalon, of all places, and they had MVP trophies for the MVP of the game. So at the end of the game, they would say, MVP of the game is so-and-so. And they'd give you a little trophy, and it was a modest trophy. It was wooden with a puck that had the name of the tournament on it. And because my father, who just recently passed away last week, was probably the best coach I've ever seen, and he was my coach, I was the beneficiary of a great coach at a young age, teaching me the basics of hockey and taking me out before school started and practicing on the rink, and then coming home and doing 100 sit-ups, 100 push-ups, and then going to school. And that's, and we did many, many other things. And this was back in the early 70s, and he would give me these drinks, with raw egg and magnesium. And the first time Power Bars came out, he bought a box of Power Bars so I can try them. And I'm like in kindergarten and grade 1 and grade 2. And so I received the award to be the fastest skater. At the time, it was Sault Ste. Marie. So fastest skater in my age group out of all the people in the Sioux. And so anyways, we go to this tournament, and obviously not because of anything of my own doing, maybe just because I followed the coaching of my father, I ended up being a very good hockey player. And I won the MVP trophy for each of the games that we played there. And I remember at the end of the last game, just in the dressing room, the coach came to me and he said, that's great that you won the MVP for all of the games. You did a great job. But my son, he's really hurt because he worked really hard too, and he never got an MVP trophy. And I felt for that. I was like, oh yeah, no, that's true. That would be, I could see that. You could be hurt for not getting a trophy. And I got all the trophies. I felt kind of bad in some ways that I got the trophies and others didn't get a trophy. And so he said, you got 4 trophies. I forget, it was 3 or 4 trophies. And he said, you got enough trophies. Do you think my son can just have one of them? And I said, well, sure. Yeah, no, take one. I have no problem with that. I'm more than happy to give him one of my trophies. And then after the game, after we were done in the dressing room, I came out and my dad's like, so where's your trophy? I said, oh, the coach told me that his son was really sad and that, I got all the trophies of the whole tournament and he didn't even get one. And so he was really sad. And the coach said that it would make him feel better if he had one trophy. And he goes, well, what did you do? I said, well, I gave it to him. And he goes, oh, no, you just wait here. And he went into the arena. I don't know what he said. I don't know what happened. All I know is he came out with that trophy and gave it back to me. He goes, this is your trophy. You were named the MVP. It's your trophy. It doesn't make sense to give the trophy to someone else. They weren't the MVP. What is that telling them? They're going to put it up on their mantle when they're at home and someone's going to say, oh, MVP of the tournament. And for the rest of their lives, they're going to have to say, yeah, I was the MVP of the tournament, when really they weren't. And he explained that to me. He said, really, it's just not, sure, you feel bad and that's okay. And that's normal. And, but it was your trophy. You won it. And they can do the same things you do to in the future win their own MVP trophies. And all that to say, cheating or whatever, and that is not the right way to go, whether it's in sports, whether it's in academia, whether it's in your job, whether it's in your family, anywhere in life. It will never, ever get you where you really want to be. And if you do, and it is, and you think it's okay, sure, I guess everyone has a different philosophy, but it's just with me, it's never the right thing to do. And we have a few comments here I just want to get to. So Belinda, just have to apologize, just my eyes aren't the greatest in the world today. Okay, not only hockey leagues, but universities as well. A lot of greasing of the palms. Oh, that's right too. I remember the story down in the United States, investigation of a lot of affluent people bribing universities for their children to go to the prestigious ones, right? In my opinion, this does more harm than good. It's empty accolades for kids who receive a trophy. Correct, yes. It's kind of like trophies for everyone. And also good on your dad. Yes, for sure. I really appreciated him as a coach, him as a, when he would teach me different things like that. He's not perfect, was never perfect, but I do remember those key times and those lessons on and off the ice, if you will, from him. And so, so we'll keep our fingers on the pulse of the OHL situation to see what they've uncovered. How deep has this gone? For how long in the OHL, with bribes being taken from the teams for players to play on their team? As I see two jets crossing each other overhead here, very prominent in a blue sky. Interesting. So transports crashing in Northern Ontario. I know Sudbury.com basically did a little piece on here. Calls for action after a week of transport accidents in the north. NDP MPP Lise Wajuas, I'm sorry I can't pronounce the last name, Thunder Bay, Superior North, is urging the provincial government to take immediate action following another week of tragic accidents involving truckers in Northern Ontario. This week, a 47-year-old woman lost her life after a crash with a tanker on MR55 in the Greater Sudbury community. That's right. We reported on that. A Manitoulin transport vehicle right on the Highway 17 between Lively and Greater Sudbury. The vehicles involved were a pickup truck and a transport truck. The driver of the transport, 31-year-old man, sustained minor injuries. The driver and sole occupant of the pickup, 47-year-old woman, died. So she is calling, this MPP is calling for proper measures, quote unquote, to be put in place to protect drivers and keep highways safe. She's been working closely with drivers from Truckers for Safer Highways who share her concerns. The group is calling for better training for commercial drivers, the staffing of inspection stations 24/7, so that safety regulations can be enforced, and the training of police officers to read electronic logs so that drivers are not driving beyond their permitted number of hours. Now, something that's not mentioned here, I don't think it'll ever be mentioned because we can't mention things. The most common reason or whatever, we have an influx of new Canadians that are driving trucks. Now, that's never mentioned, and the fact that I just mentioned it, some people might gasp, but it just is it is a fact. I actually work in the industry and of employment, and there are a remarkable amount of new Canadians, a lot from Southern Ontario, driving trucks on northern roads. And first of all, from an upbringing driving vehicles and from whatever country, it's not wrong to come from another country, by the way. It's actually a great thing. We embrace anyone who wants to come and live in this great country because it's a great country, and who wouldn't want to live here? However, the numbers, and I could probably get the numbers, are very high of new Canadians getting into the industry of driving trucks. And because it's wrong to say, we might not even look at really the situation rightfully. And we know that they are making changes with the training of truckers in the industry, because we've found that in Southern Ontario, a lot of trucking training companies were taking bribes or whatever, or just from people paying money. They're just kind of passing their tests and going off and driving without proper training. Now you get that, plus driving on a road that people that drive on these roads all the time have a hard time with. You're asking for it, and that is a huge reason why we are seeing an increase in accidents here in the north with transports. So I said it, I'll stand behind it, and I'll show the data that also backs that up. No problem. And it's not a wrong thing to say. It's actually just the reason, or a big reason for what's happening. And with all the love in my heart for all people, no matter who you are, but if you're not trained, doesn't matter what experience you've had earlier or what other country you're used to driving in before you're driving on these northern roads where they're very icy and very dangerous, very narrow, very windy, with these very bad wintry conditions. It's you might need extra training if you're not, like to myself, growing up from the age of like 16 driving on winter roads. You gain a lot of skills of how to handle yourself, or when to pull over, or when to continue driving, or when to reduce your speed, or how to apply the brakes and when, and really read the situation properly. It just is what it is. And so, yeah, we're going to have to make sure training is beefed up, and that the drivers on the roads are equipped with the education they need and the training they need to have in order to handle these big rigs on our roads. Belinda is chiming in again here. Oh, it looks like hockey. Oh, look at the tragedy in Humboldt. Yeah, to combine our last topic with this topic, in Humboldt, it was totally the driver's fault, and you can't remember if they deported him. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I do remember. He was a new Canadian as well, and not saying that that's the reason for it. However, it could be the reason, and it's not wrong to ask yourself that, because why would you put somebody in a position they're not qualified for that could have an outcome the way that it does? That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about that someone doesn't have the intelligence or somehow is inferior to someone else because they come from another country at all. If anything, they could have more intelligence and whatever. It's just a matter of the particular aspect of driving on a wintry road. If you don't have all that much experience and you are in a transport, which takes even more caution while you're driving it, you need to be trained properly. So I hope I've said that in a way that's truthful and honest, and in a way that everyone can understand and appreciate. And if you have any other views on it, that's why we have comments that are open to everybody, everyone. Nobody is shut out from commenting on this show whatsoever. It's what it's meant to be. It's meant to be a community show where everybody has a say, because we're all trying to unpack the issues that we're facing. While a transport is easily weaponized in the hands of somebody who is not properly trained. That's exactly right, Belinda. Thank you so much. You're going to get an award for the commenting so much today. I really appreciate that. You've been kind of like co-hosting through the comments. I really appreciate that. So thank you very much. Tipping fee holiday starts May 8th for all you that are doing some renovations, spring cleaning. It's always a good time of the year where you don't have to pay to, drop off your garbage and stuff. The annual spring residential tipping fee holiday at city landfills and waste transfer sites is about a month away, May 8th to May 13th. So look out for that. We'll have that. We'll continue to kind of advertise that as time goes on. So yeah, 3 cups of coffee, Belinda. That's funny. That would do it for sure. What upsets me, and this is Denise, what upsets me is that police officers are told to protest people who are grooming children and adults aren't responding. Oh, interesting that you come back to that as well. And you're talking about, I believe, possibly like the drag show kind of phenomenon that's going on in our country and Western countries in general. And that's exactly what our deep dive is today. And I want to get to that. I have a video to play. This is from an American talk show host, just to show you. And there's quite a few American media personalities discussing this. And this is a fellow by the name of Dan Bongino. So we'll be back right after we play this. And hopefully I'll get it up and running and everything will go well. Okay, we'll be right back.
But little did you know, our Canadian brethren up in Canada are now pushing a bill across the border in Canada, which used to be a free country after the truckers' rebellion. It's obviously not a free country anymore. It's now a dictatorship. We all know that. So the Canadian dictatorship is now pushing a bill to criminalize any opposition to the trans agenda. Now, notice, they use language in this that you're going to hear this lawmaker talking about this. Like, oh, man, there's no hate speech. What they're really talking about is anything against the trans agenda. Anything said will be illegal. Here, listen yourself.
It enables the Attorney General to create a 2S LGBTQI plus community safety zone to prohibit within 100 meters of the property any homophobic, transphobic act of intimidation, threat, offensive threats, offensive remarks, protest, disturbance, and distribution of hate propaganda within the meaning of the criminal code. It also comes with it a penalty of $25,000 if prosecuted successfully.
Again, the police state. Oh, police state's coming. It's not coming. It's here. It's here now. The only question is, are we going to let it get worse? Oh, it's so hot. You're not a fan. By the way, Jimmy G, you just threw me off here totally in the chat room. Hey, Joe, he says we screwed up.
What?
He says that there has been a 4-monthly before. Remember the 2020 Iowa caucus when the Democrats couldn't count their own votes?
Oh,
I got to go back. Can someone go check that, please? Find the date. It should be easy. Can you check that, Key? And go back? If Joe awarded 4 monthlies, Joe, we're going to have to reevaluate our monthly scale. So Jimmy G.
Anyways, they got a little sidetracked there. They do go back to the story, however, later. I was just going to let that play, but I do have another video I just wanted to share talking about the same subject from one of our Canadian, Harrison Faulkner, who has his podcast called Ratioed. It's on True North News if you want to catch that. Let's have a listen at what he's talking about. Same subject, same law that is proposed.
It's quite possible that you are unaware of the fact that governments at all levels in this country, including the legacy media with the CBC leading the charge, as per usual, have been aggressively promoting and even funding drag shows for kids disguised as drag queen story hours. Now, if that sounds like something you might object to, just wait. There's an even newer phenomenon that appears to be exclusively Canadian at this point, and that is a concerted political effort to criminalize anyone who protests these drag shows for kids. To be clear, they're trying to make it illegal for you, a Canadian citizen, to protest a drag queen story hour, which is nothing more than a man wearing a woman's costume dancing in front of children. They want to make that illegal. Now, luckily, for the time being, the people pushing this political effort have done everything humanly possible to not be taken seriously. Just stick around, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. As always, drop a like in the video, help us out by subscribing to the True North YouTube channel, and the comment question for the episode is this: why are these drag queens, men, so desperate to read books in front of our children? Let me know, and let's get into it. Here is Ontario NDP politician Christian Wong Tam, who uses they-them pronouns, obviously, introducing legislation to make it illegal in Ontario to protest drag queen story hours. Now, for whatever reason, people aren't taking Christian Wong Tam seriously. I don't know why.
Firstly, it enables the Attorney General to create a 2S LGBTQI plus community safety zone to prohibit within 100 meters of the property any homophobic, transphobic act of intimidation, threat, offensive threats, offensive remarks, protest, disturbance, and distribution of hate propaganda within the meaning of the criminal code. It also comes with it a penalty of $25,000 if prosecuted successfully.
They're trying to make it illegal for anyone to stand within 100 meters of a child drag show and raise any objection at all. And to really hammer home the point and be taken totally seriously, Kristen Wong-Tam brought out Beetlejuice to explain why this bill is so important.
We will not let fear win. A world without trans people has never existed. A world without drag has never existed, and it never will. Queer people have always been here amongst us. They are our coworkers. They are our brothers, our sisters. They are our mothers, our fathers. They are our families. Drag is art. Drag is culture. Drag is educational. Drag is creative. Drag is comedy, but drag is not a crime. My name is Scarlett Bobo, and thank you so much for your time.
It's showtime.
Am I the only person that feels bad for the guy in the back left corner who obviously walked into the wrong press conference? Wait a second, this isn't the budget meeting I was supposed to go to. Anyway, I'm just going to sit here and try to act as though everything is normal. Now, I'm about 95% sure that this bill will not be approved in the Ontario legislature. I only say 95% because a part of me feels as though the Ontario Conservatives, who are the least conservative party in Canada, might actually vote for this bill. They only vote against NDP private members' bills on principle, not because they actually oppose the legislation. And nothing from these progressive conservatives would surprise me at this point. But this exact piece of legislation is law in the city of Calgary. A few weeks ago, Calgary City Council passed the hilariously titled Safe and Inclusive Bylaw, which would establish a 100-meter no protest zone around city facilities and libraries hosting drag queen story hours. So in Calgary, you're allowed to protest environmental issues, lack of bike lanes, taxes, anywhere you'd like. But the second you dare to take issue with men dressed up as women dancing in front of children within 100 meters of that location, well, you're going to get a fine of up to $10,000 or even a year in prison. Now, it obviously goes without saying, but all of this is clearly unconstitutional.
Yeah, so we're going to have to leave it there just because we're out of time at the moment. But yeah, maybe we'll catch up with a follow-up on this tomorrow and more comments and things like that. It's a very huge issue, obviously, and it's something that's in our face. And I just believe it's a distraction tactic for what's really going on globally. So maybe we'll do our deep dive into what I mean by that tomorrow, and we'll jump off of this particular topic. But thanks for being with us today. We really appreciate you, and especially you, Belinda, for getting the Commenter of the Day award and your 3 cups of coffee that initiated it. We were really grateful for that. Thank you for all you all for commenting and being with us today live on CKLU 96.7 FM and all things social media. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. Have a great one, everyone. Stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU. Ciao.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.